Hello.
Yo.
I just decided right there. Let's just start it right now. Welcome to Cranked and Ranked, everybody. That's a very unique intro because we've stopped doing sort of hello everybody intros, but why not? Why can't we do that sometimes? Welcome to Cranked and Ranked, where we rank fucking shit. My mouth got away from me on that part. We rank band discographies if you're new to this shit, and sometimes we do things like rank our favorite albums from a particular year, and we've done years from the 70s, from the 80s, from the 90s, and we've done, did we do one from the 2000s so far?
Nope, this is the first one. This is
Holy
our first
shit.
foray into the 21st century.
The year 2000, which is, it's weird that still sounds futuristic to me, but it's 25 years ago.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Jesus Christ. You were one, right?
I turned 2 that year, but I entered it as 1.
Oh, okay, yeah, because we're 20 years apart. Yeah, that makes sense. So I was 22. Yeah, so what we do with these episodes is we obviously the both of us don't know every single fucking album that came out in the year 2000. So these are our favorite 10 albums of the year, whatever year we've chosen. And so it's a little more of a personal thing and not so much like breaking apart, what makes one better than the other. A lot of it is personal preference. And feel free to put your top 10 favorite 2000s albums below, because I'm pretty sure we'll leave some of those out. I'm going to go on record and say I only believe that we're going to have 2 overlapping albums, if that.
Wow.
Might only be 1 overlapping album, but possibly 2. I would be surprised if it's any more. So,
okay.
But
I think it might be 3.
Okay.
And maybe put 4 is pushing it, but I think there might be 3.
I've left things out that some people would think would be a given for the year 2000. And it's because, so when we started getting this episode together, I was like, oh man, I'm going to have to like listen to some new albums because there's probably not going to be a whole lot that would go into my top 10 for this year. Not realizing that I was 22 years old. And while I may not have been very interested in like the metal world and the hard rock world, that would come a couple years later. I would kind of get back into that. But this was around the time that I was listening to a whole lot of different stuff. I mean, most of it rock music in different forms or whatever, but I was really sort of like branching out into other areas and finding bands that normally wouldn't be on my radar. And so I went through the list. I went through like Wikipedia and I went through like the stuff in my collection for the year 2000. And I literally had double the amount of albums to put on the list. So I had to get rid of 10 or a little bit more entire albums because I was like, once I started ordering them, I was like, because there's like half of these are ones where I went absolutely they're going on the list. And then the other ones I just had to sort of like, I spot listened to a few things and I was like, oh yeah, this one's going here. So it ended up being a year that has all kinds of shit, which makes sense that, that would happen around this time. But being 22, but I also listened to a lot of really shitty music around that time. In my 20s, I did a lot of that. I did a lot of soul searching musically, which led me to a lot of areas that I would briefly enjoy, but then later go back to look on and go, oh, you fucking douche. But anyway, so I would ask you about that, but you were literally 1/2, and I don't even know if you were. Do you even have a memory from when you were 2?
Vague things, like very vague things. I was really, really, really into slides at the time. I liked slides a lot.
I'm such an old
swings were
fuck.
okay.
I'm such an old fuck. I thought you meant photographs, like on slides. I was like, that's a weird thing for a 2-year-old to be into.
Yeah, I really, really, tell you what I would have been doing is I probably would have been watching the beloved
Teletubbies.
Yep, Teletubbies was one of them.
Yeah.
Teletubbies was one of them. Bob the Builder.
Oh,
And,
Thomas.
Thomas the Tank Engine. Oh, hell yeah. Dude, seriously.
Featuring Ringo Starr, who we talked about the Beatles last week.
Damn straight. And the beloved 90s UK kids show. Everybody who grew up in the 90s into 2000s and some even into the 2010s come outside. Holy shit, it's just this older lady who lives with her dog, who goes on adventures about it. She has a plane, it's got spots on it. It's really hard. Tell you what, I want you to get up I'm going to send you a photo of this shit.
What is the name of the show?
It's called Come Outside. And
no, thank you. I'd rather do that inside. Thank you very much.
Yeah. It's literally this.
To each their own.
It's this lady who happens to be a pilot. She lives with her dog. She has a spotty plane, and she flies places and teaches you about things. And it would be something like toothpaste or boxes or holes in the ground, and it was just gripping television. They really made they genuinely made learning about banal things really interesting.
All
there
right,
would usually be a song in there.
Never heard of it.
I mean it's definitely a UK thing, but it's also a 90s it's younger children show.
Are you sending me something, or did you?
Sorry, I was just going to send you a photo of this is the photo people usually bring up when it comes to this show kicked ass, dude. She sadly passed away a year or so ago, but so this is essentially the premise. It's this lady. She has a spotty plane. She lives on an airfield.
So it's okay. So I thought it was animated at first.
No. It's an actual thing. It's an actual thing. It's quite funny actually. A lot of people will take photos from Come Outside and put like little captions on it where it says German pilot prepares for the Battle of Britain 1941 colorized, and it's like
that's pretty funny.
It was genuinely though, like I have in the stack of VHS tapes on a chair behind me. There are tapes of that I am transferring over. But yeah,
nice.
That was like my favorite show. The dog was called Pippin, and the Pippin would usually get into some shenanigans, and Auntie Mabel would have to bail her out.
It's interesting how for a while there, like a lot of British stuff made its way over here, but then there's certain things that you hear British people talk about like it's a big deal that I feel like we had no contact with, like fucking shit like EastEnders and what's the one that's like it takes place like old timey like castles and shit, and there was tons of seasons of it.
Oh,
there's another one like that, but it's a show like, but there's always those shows that you hear people talk about a lot, and I'm like, I've never even saw that over here, but yet you would still see things like Python and Faulty Towers. And when it comes to kids shows, I grew up on Danger Mouse, which wasn't American. That was British.
Yep.
And that came on Nickelodeon, the American Nickelodeon, when it was just a kids network and there wasn't Nick and Nine or anything.
I think I've brought this up before. You ever seen Only Fools and Horses?
I know the name. Isn't that show done by somebody else? He did other shows that were real popular.
Yeah, David Jason. He's the voice of Danger Mouse, and he plays the main guy, Del Boy. Okay. That show is fucking brilliant. I'll have to send you some clips of it.
All shit not from the year 2000. But Eddie was a young Eddie at that point. He's still a young Eddie. Let's be fair.
Yeah, I'm definitely in the over 25 bracket of those singing contests on TV, but I'm still pretty young in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
Definitely ascended past young at this
Yeah.
point.
Well, I
Yeah.
guess we'll have plenty of other derailments, I'm sure, and tangents, but we might as well just jump in because we have 10 albums each to talk about.
Yes.
And like I said, I really do think one, possibly two, whatever, same albums appearing in our list, but we'll find out. And the way that we do that is we start shit off by letting Eddie Sparxx do something. My words are not happening. Hold on. Here we go. Now it's time for Eddie Sparxx to kick it off with his number 10 album from 2000.
Okay, my number 10 album is Brave New World by Iron Maiden.
Okay.
And, admittedly, for me, this isn't my favorite Iron Maiden era.
Uh-huh.
It's cool to see Bruce back, and
Yeah.
it seemed to light a fire under the band and really get them back on track. But the thing for me, like, I remember seeing the music video for Wicker Man early on, getting into metal and thinking, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I'm still very much in the dark on a lot of year 2000 albums.
Mm-hmm.
But this is an album I've heard several times, and it's again, like I say, it's not one of my favorite Maiden albums, but it's definitely got cool qualities about it, and it's cool to see and hear a reinvigorated Iron Maiden on this album.
Yeah.
But it's like I say, it's cool, but it's not my favorite Maiden, but it's still worthy, I think, of a mention because this was, I mean, Bruce is back. That was a big deal.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I when we did the Iron Maiden ranking, I'm pretty sure I talked about how I understand that it's an important album, and especially if it's like somebody's first Maiden album, I totally get that. But for me, as a I don't know, as a person that looks at like everything that they did, this album is just okay, except for the fact that it's the reintroduction of Bruce Dickinson.
Yeah.
So, but still, it's a great album because it's fucking Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden's worst album is still really good in my opinion.
Yeah.
But even if they did get kind of repetitive, but yeah.
I think if I remember it right, I think this was the top of my modern Maiden albums or something because it, they just kind of kept doing this after this, and I think that's what kind of knocks modern Maiden for me a little bit is that it's a little samey beyond this point.
Yeah.
But that being said, there's still some killer stuff on here. Blood Brothers went hard live.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good tune also.
Yeah. We're Blood Brothers. I said Blood Brothers. Fuck, man.
Blood Brothers.
Blood Blother. But yeah, simply put, Brave New World, Iron Maiden, number 10. Bada boom, bada bing.
Sweet. All right, my number 10 is the opposite end of well, not really opposite, but people that were listening to Maiden probably weren't listening to this. My number 10 is Pump Up the Volume by NoFX.
Cool.
And I have all of these but one on vinyl, and unfortunately, one of them I'm just gonna have to show an image on screen for the podcast people. Like, who gives a fuck? But yes, this is the 8th album by NoFX. Also, I have this cool little shelf behind me now.
Hey,
that I can put things on. So whenever I move to a new house, I'm gonna have to figure out where to put things so I can still use the shelf because I'm like, well, it's too cool. I put it there anyway. So, sorry, podcast people, there's a shelf and I just put the album behind me. So, this was the last NoFX album on Epitaph because, Fat Mike had his own record label called Fat Records, and eventually they just, why don't we just put the records out on your own fucking label? And that's what they started doing. But, honestly, when it comes to their run of albums, when this came out, I actually was kind of disappointed in it, aside from a few songs, because this is kind of like the beginning with like Iron Maiden. NoFX kind of turn a corner, and at this point, their stuff aside from one EP starts to get very sort of similar in certain respects. This one still has a little bit of the old sort of adventurous stuff that they were doing, but very quickly into the 2000s, they kind of turned a corner where they kind of got into a groove of doing this modern NoFX sound. When we rank NoFX, you'll know what I'm talking about. You'll get to those albums, you'll be like, yeah, we kind of hit this groove of what they were writing. But this is a fun album. And over the years, it's really grown on me because there's some real standout tracks, but there's also some kind of sleeper ones that I didn't really give that much attention to. And then the more I listen to it, the more I go, you know what? This actually is a pretty fun and cool album. It's also kind of overshadowed by the fact that right after this, they released The Decline, which is like an 18-minute song. It's one of their fucking best songs they ever did. But this one, still good, still fun. And I always like the artwork because it looks like it should like be in like a green Jello video or But anyway, all right. So my number 10 is "Pump Up the Volume" by NoFX.
Cool. We won't spend too much time on this next one because we talked about it pretty recently. My number 9 is "Hybrid Theory" by Linkin Park.
Oh, all right.
So, like I said, it's a very nostalgic feeling album to me. It scratches the nu metal itch that I've been looking for pretty much since late 2022 when I had this sudden bug for getting back into nu metal.
Yeah.
A genre that a little overplay had made me, unfavorable on. But you know what? After I've listened to it in isolation and given it some time, that's what killed stuff like Kerrang TV and Scuzz. Not nu metal itself, but the fact that it went from being such a varied thing where there'd be like hourly blocks of different styles of rock. You'd have like, pop punk hour, hard rock hour, 80s hour, 90s hour. You'd have metal hour. You'd have this and that. Thrash special, groove special, grunge time. It's all these sorts of like little blocks and things. And I would
absolutely watch a channel like that today if it existed.
Yeah. And the sad thing about it is it just gradually turned into a pretty much the same, pop punk and nu metal live stream for in the end, it just narrowed in on itself till it became very one note.
Yeah.
And, if it wasn't, Linkin Park or Blink-182, it wasn't on there. Maybe save for a Nirvana song here or there. But I mean, for the most part, those channels, I remember. I'm sure I've got tapes of it back there somewhere, something recorded off it. But I remember when it was really varied, and then eventually it just became a pop punk nu metal live stream 24-hour thing where there was no real variation. And I think ultimately saturation is what killed it in the end. But
I mean, at least they stuck with music, unlike MTV over here. Which gradually just became non-music programming, and now I don't know if it's still going on because I haven't checked recently. But now it's like 24 hours of a show called Ridiculousness, and that's it. Which is like a clip show, I think, where they show internet clips or whatever, and like that blows me away. That I'm like, what is the reasoning behind that? Like. Like, are you guys that concerned with losing money that you'll just get rid of anything that isn't doing 100% good all the time, and then this is the only thing that works, or it's cheaper just to show this now? Because I just figured like what you described for Kerrang TV, I would love that because it's like sure not everybody's going to watch every block of videos that's on there, but but that's what would bring people coming back to a TV channel. Is like I like that there's a variety, and sometimes I might hear stuff that I wouldn't normally listen to, but I actually like. But it's like the idea of that just went out the fucking window. It was like no variety ever, and so that's fucking lame. Anyway, Linkin Park.
Linkin Park. I like that album.
It was your number 1, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, it was.
No, spoiler alert if you haven't watched the Linkin Park ranking. And I'm not going to tell you what my number one was because it was not that one. All right.
Hot takes on that episode. If anyone's interested.
I mean, they weren't intended to be hot takes. They were just me reacting to their stuff as a newbie.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right. My number 9. Speaking of 8th albums, this is also the 8th album from this band. King's X, Please Come Home, Mr. Bulbous, which I love the name of this album. I love the artwork of this album, and it fits the album really well. Sorry, I'm going to replace No Effects.
Boom.
With King's X. Oh, both X's at the end. So this one, a lot of people, I see online, people kind of put this album way down the King's X list, and I've never understood why, because there's albums surrounding it that I think are a little more, like, not as interesting. This is one where it's pretty... It's weird because it feels a little bit experimental, but at the same time also very direct. And so it's just, they're all like really amazing, well-written songs. And I love the production because it's like a raw 2000s production, but it's got a punch to it. It sounds like you're in a room with a band playing and not like it's a fucking demo, like some shit was sounding around that time. So one day we'll get to King's X and you'll figure out, you know, that'll be another one that I think your ranking, it'll be difficult because they have so much good shit, even shit going into the 2000s. But I love this album and I think it's great and it's underrated in my opinion. It should be a little bit higher up on people's list, or at least people should be giving it a lot more attention because I think it's a super strong King's X album. So that's my number 9. Please Come Home, Mr. Bulbous.
Cool.
I love saying bulbous.
Oh man! Speaking of stuff we like to say, what's a tell you what? Do you want to know something? I love typing.
Yeah.
The year 1987. You can literally put like left index finger on the 1, and then ring finger, middle finger, index finger on the right, and you can just go 1987. And it just feels really good to type. And I found out the other day, you can just go, if I want to ever find out something from 1987, it just feels right.
It does feel right. Yeah. I mean, speaking of 1987, your shirt. Although I don't.
Yes.
I know that Whitesnake put out plenty of albums, but 87 was a big year for Whitesnake.
What 87 was the year.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Yeah. They're on the list, aren't they?
It's a great album. That made me interested. Eventually we'll get to the Whitesnake discography. That made me more interested to get into their stuff because I got that album on vinyl just because I like the singles from that album. And then there's other songs where I went, oh, there's like the whole album's really good.
Yeah.
And it just so happens that, like, you know, Here I Go Again and Still the Night kind of get all the hype.
Is This Love as well?
Is This Love is fucking great. Is This Love was a fucking crossover. Like if I remember right, I heard that song on regular top 40 radio. Like it majorly crossed over. Anyway,
it's got a tasteful ass guitar solo. Speaking of which, actually, because John Sykes passed away recently.
Oh shit! I didn't know that.
Did you not? No, he died early in the year, and killer guitar work on that album. Have you ever heard Valley of the Kings by Blue Murder?
Yes, I have. Was he in Blue Murder?
Song. Yeah, he's the main guy in Blue Murder.
Oh,
John Sykes.
Yeah, I need to give that one. There's a few bands of like that from that era that I haven't given the attention they deserve, and that's one of them where I'm like, yeah, I don't know why I'm kind of sleeping on that band because like that's a band that got a lot of people that I trust are like, oh, that fucking Blue Murder album. I'm like, oh, okay, well maybe I need to. What's the other one? Is it Badlands that I'm thinking of? Badlands has Jakey Lee in it, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's another one that I'm like, oh, I'm sleeping on this good shit like that.
Yeah, I need to get into Badlands. I remember, I think the only reason I didn't get into Badlands sooner is because when I got deep down the hair metal hole, down the hairy hole, I don't think, I think there was like maybe one Badlands album on Spotify and it wasn't one of the 80s ones or something.
Yeah.
So I was like, I was like, fuck, well, I want to listen to 80s stuff. And yeah, admittedly, that was just an unfortunate circumstance. But the Badlands, I have heard, kicks ass.
Yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, we're moving on to your number 8 from 2000.
Okay, so my number 8 is Binaural by Pearl Jam.
Oh, okay.
And this was a grower. This album didn't click with me for a long time. It was like, it's cool and all, but I like 10 Verses, No Code, Vitalogy. Those were my.
I don't even remember what was a single off of that album. I don't even remember.
I think the singles, Nothing As It Seems and Light Years.
Oh.
And
okay.
And the cool thing about this album is many of the songs on it it does what it says on the tin. They use these binaural recording techniques, which uses 2 microphones arranged with the intent to create a 3D stereo sound sensation for the listener of actually being in the room with the performance or instruments. This effect is blah, 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 blah. But basically, yeah, they used a really cool technique on many of the album's later songs. I think the first few aren't, but when you get to Nothing As It Seems, Of the Girl, Rival, Sleight of Hand, Soon Forget, and Parting Ways all use that technique. And I just think that's really cool.
It's very similar to a thing they do now. I don't know if they do it everywhere, but I think on Apple Music, some albums they've mixed them to be more of a surrounding experience. I don't even remember what they call it, but I know they started doing that. I'm never interested in I don't listen to music in headphones that much. I'm usually listening through speakers or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. It would be interesting to listen to them. I've never been one of those people. I remember in the early 2000s, there was a trend of bands putting out like DVDs with like 5.1 mixed versions of an album. And I'm all like, do we really need that? Can I just listen to the regular one? Why do you got to charge me extra for a DVD I'm not going to play? So take that shit out.
Fair. But yeah, binaural, cool album. Yeah. It's got kind of a psychedelic vibe to it as well. It's a little more out there, a little more spacey.
I really think Pearl Jam's going to be a band that it may take several years for me, but I'll get fully into a lot of their stuff because for me it kind of ends at No Code and I like a little bit of the one. Is it Yield that's after that? Yeah. I like a little bit of that one as well, but then it kind of falls off for me. But the more I hear, especially like live, them just doing some random song live will pop up a video of it, and I'll be like, I don't know what song this is, but this is awesome. So yeah. It's going to happen eventually.
Definitely a band that whenever I've seen live footage of Pearl Jam just rocking out, it kicks ass.
Yeah, for
sure.
All right, so moving on to speaking of live, I saw this band on this tour, and I think at this one it's the last album they put out. This is The Rising Tide by Sunny Day Real Estate, which was their 4th album. They're still a band that plays shows, but they haven't put out an album since this. And the cool thing for me about this band, there we go, looking good back there. Anyway, the cool thing about this band is that in certain conversations, they are brought up as like an early emo band that would, they weren't like the quote unquote, what would you call proto? They wouldn't be a proto emo band. They were kind of like one of the first proper emo bands, and they would influence the emo that would come later. But that's selling them short because that's really just one album. That's the first album. Second album is with each album they kind of expand what they're doing, and by this one, they're just pretty much just a rock band with a little more of a indie vibe to them. There's not really a lot of, I wouldn't call this emo at all, but it's a little bit more progressive than what they were doing. And the songwriting is fucking great on this album. And Sunny Day Real Estate's a band that I don't think gets the respect they deserve for all 4 of their albums because they are not, I don't even like calling them an emo band just because even that first album, if you go listen to it, Diary is the first album, you're thinking emo, and if you'll hear it and you'll go, this just sounds like a 90s rock band, because that's what they sounded like. But there was a very emotional quality to especially the vocalist. And so it kind of, it influenced a lot of that stuff. But this fourth one, if it's the last album they do, they went out on a high note, because I really love this album. And they were a great, they still are a great live band. And if you didn't know, Serenity Real Estate, half of that band originally was half of Foo Fighters. I don't know if you knew the history of Foo Fighters or anything like that.
I vaguely remember hearing something about that.
Yeah, at this point, the only person that was in Foo Fighters is the drummer, because the bass player on the first two albums stayed in Foo Fighters, and the drummer was kicked out pretty soon. Like the drummer barely even recorded anything with Foo Fighters, and I don't really know why, because he's an excellent drummer, but apparently he butted heads with Dave Grohl, and Dave Grohl was like, "Fuck it, I'll play it," and so he played the drums on Color and the Shape. Anyway, Serenity Real Estate, my number 8, Rising Tide. It's great. There you go.
Cool. So we're stepping into some hip hop territory here.
All right.
With my number 7. My number 7 is Stankonia by Outkast.
That one's on my list, so this is not yet, but we'll get there.
Yeah. It's fucking awesome. Just
it is.
Hip hop group firing on all cylinders. Bombs Over Baghdad, Miss Jackson. So fresh, so clean. Dude, what's the opening track called? Fucking Gasoline Dreams.
Oh yeah.
Damn, dude.
Burn motherfucker, burn American dreams.
Yeah, it's just whole thing just kicks ass, man. And just like I say, firing on all cylinders.
Yeah. Their creative peak, I believe.
Yeah, they were
as a duo, because obviously the album after that they kind of split and did their own thing, and that one's also fucking great.
Mm-hmm.
We did Outkast. We ranked Outkast. I forgot about that.
We did do Outkast, and I remember putting this quite low, comparatively speaking, compared to other albums on that list.
But you were into their early sound, if I remember right. You liked that almost a G, not really G funk, but it was like the southern version of that. Yeah,
I think, at the end of the day, they're just fantastic at doing what they were doing.
Yeah.
And I think honestly, if I had Southern
playalistic Cadillac music,
that's the one. I was going to say Southern Cadillac playalistic, Southern playalistic Cadillac music. I think I had that one above Stankonia, but if we're talking from like, oh damn, these guys have leveled up, then Stankonia is
I mean, I'm pretty sure.
Damn.
I'll wait to talk about this, because I was like going to talk about the album, but I'm not even there yet. So you finish talking about it.
But when you're on the heel of Southern playalistic Cadillac music, nailed it. Atlians or AT-Aliens, Aquemini, Stankonia. I think Aquemini was my top pick.
Aquemini's amazing. That's the thing that was a mind blower for me, is how great Aquemini was. And then when this album came out, I was just like, holy shit! How the fuck did they do a better album?
Yeah, absolutely wild. And then of course they got Speaker Box The Love Below, which came after, where they both kind of went and did their own thing, and Isle of Wild, which was the soundtrack to the movie they made.
Yeah, which I'm still not that into that one, but yeah, it's whatever.
I mean, at the end of the day, though, like they just dropped.
It's a hell of a run.
Yeah, they in the span of 10 years at least, they put out a string of like 5 albums that are pretty just universally acclaimed.
Yep.
Yeah. Killer stuff.
And my favorite thing now is that, like, they're not getting, not only are they haven't been getting back together for anything, but then Andre 3000 is like, fuck you, I'm putting out a fucking flute album or whatever it was, whatever it is he's playing. And I just love him for that, because I'm just like, fuck what everyone wants. You do whatever the fuck you want. You have earned it, sir. So.
Hell yeah. So, I mean, with that, Stankonia fucking rules.
Cool.
Over to you.
All right, let's go to the other end of the spectrum. Another band that we've ranked. My number 7 is Napalm Death, Enemy of the Music Business.
That's on my list.
Sweet. The ninth So now I'm pretty sure we have 3 that'll be on both our lists. But
this was the one I would thought would be the third.
So yeah, 9th album. This album's fucking great. We did a whole Napalm Death ranking, and I literally spent 2 hours gushing over the band because I love them. And then they get into the 2000s, and this is it's kind of in a transitional period for Napalm Death, but this is one where like the energy and the performances and everything about this album is just so fucking good that it's undeniably great. And it's, it may not tickle that thing in me that wants them to get kind of weird, because I love it when they get weird, obviously, as you see from if you watch the episode, my top albums of theirs. But this one is just like them just, firing on all cylinders and just being aggressive and fast but still having like all these cool hooks and riffs everywhere and vocal parts, of course, because Barney fucking rules. But since you're going to talk about it, I'll let us move on because you'll get to it. But yeah, Enemy of the Music Business is my number 7.
Nice. Okay, so my number 6 is Renegades by Rage Against the Machine.
This one would have been in my top 10. Barely got nudged out.
Damn, dude. Yeah, this is a covers album, but Rage Against the Machine did a fantastic job of putting their own spin on these songs. Several of these songs just completely rebuilt from the ground up. Like, the one that sticks in my mind in particular is How I Could Just Kill a Man.
Yeah.
And Renegades of Funk as well is just kicks ass, man.
Well, Microphone Fiend, they literally created a chorus for a song that didn't have a chorus, and I love that they did that. Great. This is a great fucking album. It hurts me that it's not in my top 10.
Yeah. Pistol grip pump on my lap at all time.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say the next line because I
yeah.
But yeah, it's Kick Out the Jams. Oh, man. Oh, it's just so many.
Ghost of Tom Joad is on there too.
Yeah, I'm housing.
Oh yeah,
and this
EPMD.
This album has a very very loose GTA San Andreas connection because How I Could Just Kill a Man, the original Cypress Hill version, is on Radio Los Santos. And to those of you first tuning in, if you've never been here before. The Grand Theft Auto games are responsible for a huge chunk of my music taste and discovery. San Andreas especially. So
yeah,
there is something you can't understand.
That's it's to you what MTV was to me. At a certain age.
It's gonna be a long time before I finish one of the many missions that I have to establish to light the spliff, ignite you with insights, and if you ain't down, bullshit.
Yep.
I
was trying to do the music over it, but I was like, I don't want to mess up your flow. I was trying to do that for that part of the song.
every time that song comes on, like I can't help but yell bullshit, along to it. But I sometimes forget that other people are in the flat building, so every now and again I'm just quietly playing my game.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
I would go on record to say that Cypress Hill album is one of the most important hip hop albums of my life and one of my favorites.
Yeah.
We'll get to Cypress Hill ranking them, I'm sure, one day. In fact, maybe that should be our next hip hop group that we do.
I almost bought it on vinyl the other day.
Oh, do it.
But I decided to be sensible. What
is that? What is that all about? I don't know anything about that.
I was just saying to myself, right, I could get this Cypress Hill album for 30 quid, or I could get these 3 Heart singles, one of which is a picture disc. And
well, shit, never mind. Okay.
Yeah.
Not going to get in between you and Ann Wilson any day, so. All right, cool. Are you ready to move on from Renegades?
Fuck yeah.
Cool. All right, now we're at Stankonia by Outcast.
Nice.
For my number 6. I put the dudes up there looking all nice there. So yeah, I already said that. Like this, I was already, on board with Outkast when this album came out, but I wasn't prepared for it. And I probably told this story when we did the ranking, but I remember in the middle of the night, because at that point, MTV played most of their music videos overnight. That was where you could actually see videos. So I would come home from going to a show or whatever, and I would just, veg out and turn on MTV. And the video for Bombs Over Baghdad came on. It was like the premiere, and the album hadn't come out yet. The album was supposed to come out like a week or two after. And I just remember sitting there watching that music video, and I was just, I had to pick my jaw up off the floor when it was over, because I was just like, holy fuck, these dudes are the greatest hip hop thing going. Like it was just, and then when I got the album, I was just like, holy shit, this is like, and it was one of those albums where I was really happy that it blew up and got actually popular, like legit popular, because I was like, this deserves it. Like, so every once in a while, those albums come out that you're like, this is amazing on a critical level, but deserves to be massive with like regular ass fucking people listening to it. And so I'm glad that it did, because like it deserves it. And I love it. But there's 5 other albums that are way more important to me that are above this. So Stankonia goes at number 6 for me.
Cool. So my number 5 is Enemy of the Music Business by Napalm Death.
Nice.
A relatively recent addition.
Thanks for fucking nothing. That's my favorite song on that album.
It's fucking awesome. There really is there's something I realized about Napalm Death during our ranking, and that was the peace I find myself in when I just let the chaos wash over me. It's weird. It's weird how relaxing I find such violent music.
It's such a rewarding experience, but it's hard to explain it to normies.
Yeah.
Because most people would be like, how could you listen to this? And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is like, this is my ASMR or something. Yeah. Where I hear the sounds and I just go, oh my God, everything is right with the world right now.
Yeah. It's so funny, isn't it? Like, it's the fact that it sounds so violent, so unrelenting, and yet there's a relaxation I tap into when I listen to extreme metal. Yeah. That, maybe points that, maybe I could seek help, but in other ways, you
might need to be on the kind of meds I'm on for anxiety and stuff, because that's part of it.
Yeah. It's definitely. I just remember, it's so funny. I'll be driving past people, and like you'll just hear like, coming from the car, and there I am, happy as Larry, tootling along in my van. It's so strange. It's this phenomena I found myself experiencing while we were doing this ranking. Was like, is this relaxing me? Like, and I always knew I loved metal. Yeah. But I'd never considered that I'm at my least anxious when I'm listening to the most extreme version of it. Yeah. Yeah. You would think that, crazy heavy music would put you on edge, but to me it shuts out the screaming that's already haunting me.
Yeah. And on the opposite side of things, if you expose me to like classical music or certain jazz music, it makes me feel like I'm going to fucking pull my hair out. Like it really bothers me. It's like, and no disrespect to musicians that can play classical or jazz music, because I wouldn't be able to play most of that. And I understand it as an art form, but personally speaking, fuck no. It's all of a sudden, I can feel it. Like once any song like that starts, I can just feel, you can feel, it almost feels like your body is starting to heat up or starting to get sort of a weird, uncomfortable tingliness where you're like,
the molecules in your skin just begin to heat too much. They're vibrating.
Yeah, it does
Not
something
in a
to
good way.
which is why when other people say, "Well, I just can't listen to that loud, screamy metal music," and I'm like, I get it. Please understand that that's how I feel about your soft bullshit. So just understand that we're different people.
You know? Yeah, I agree. So simply put, if you're having a hard time recently and you are, you know, if you can't shut that fucking
You
brain
may
up,
want to ask
put
your
this
doctor
on.
about heavy metal music.
Yeah. Oh shit. A coaster came with me there.
Side effects can include
Being fucking awesome.
making a riff face all the fucking time, your neck hurting all the time.
Yeah.
If
And
your
grunting at
if
passers-by.
your erection lasts longer than 24 hours, please seek a doctor.
Or just tuck it into your belt and try not to pee up your shirt.
Wise words from Edward Sparxx.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, let's move on to my number 5. This is probably one that you have no idea what this is at all, but this is a very important album for me. This is the debut album from a band called Q and Not You, and they're from Washington D.C. And this album is called No Kill, No Beep Beep. And
Looks punky.
it's like Fugazi. It's Fugazi-ish music. So because they're also on Discord,
Yeah.
but I got to put it back here.
Hey.
But and so much so that when the album first came out, and a girl I was dating at the time had this album, I got so annoyed because I was like, they're just trying to sound like Fugazi. God damn it. But then, like, the more that I heard it, I went, okay, this is really fucking good. It's like, because it's got all of the angular post hardcore guitar-y parts and really like quirky, like, there's even 2 vocalists that mimic like an Ian MacKaye and a Guy Picciotto like together. And the drummer's fucking great. And it's just a really energetic, fun, it's a unique album really when you break it down, because once you get past the fact that, yeah, sure, they belong on Discord Records and they could easily have played shows with Fugazi, and I'm sure they did. But I actually got to play a show with this band, not in the band, but my band got to play a show with them on their second album, because I literally just sent them a fucking message on MySpace. Or did I email them? I just remember I just sent an email and said, "Look, I'm in this band. You guys are touring through Austin. Do you book your shows? Can you? Because we would love to play with you." And literally, the drummer like responded to me, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, well, I'm going to call the venue. We're going to get you put on." So we were the first band on like out of 4, and nobody was fucking there. I don't think so. That's a long time ago now. But anyway, great band. Even more so today, because not a lot of bands do this kind of music. Where there were more bands late 90s, early 2000s that were doing this kind of thing, when I hear a band do it now, I'm all like, oh my God, where have you fucking been? Yeah. So if you're into that, if you out there don't know Q and Not You, they all 3 of their full-length albums are very different from each other. So, because if you start with the 3rd album, you're going to be like, why is this so funky? Because that's what they were doing at the time. Because they really evolved very quickly. But their first one is just an absolute sort of post-hardcore, angular, crazy party time classic. And so that's my number 5. Q and Not You, No Kill, No Beep Beep.
Cool. Well, that brings me to my number 4, which is, and I'm breaking from, but because we can be a little looser on the year episodes, my next album is a live album.
A live album from 2000.
And it is live Alice in Chains.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it's, granted, it is kind of a compilation
Queen of
live.
the Rodeo.
Yeah. I ain't no queer, go fuck a steer. But yeah, it's got songs recorded during 1990, 1993, and 1996. And I mean, it's just a collection of kick-ass performances of their songs, dude.
Also, I want to go on record. I know I've said this on other videos on my channel, but I want to do it every chance I get. Alice in Chains, what the fuck is up with you guys not releasing B-sides, collections, live albums? Because there's fucking recordings out there. And every time they'll put out a box set, no extra music on there, no live music. I'm just like, I understand that. I'll pay for the box set. And if you want to release a live album 2 months later, I'll buy that too. Can we please just get it? Because I just need more Lane Staley in my life. So
yeah,
please, por favor, as they say in Spanish.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's yeah. One thing I will say, this album is a little late on this album is a little light on the facelift era. Like there's Bleed the Freak and Queen of the Rodeo, which were 1990 recordings. Much of this is the March 2nd, 1993 stuff.
That's my birthday.
Cool.
But
nice.
But the live version of God Am, so fucking good. They're all good, but if you've never heard this live performance, go listen to the live version of God Am.
Like my God Am.
Yeah.
Fucking killer stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, again, a little bitter.
If I included live albums, this would be on my list, but I don't normally.
Yeah. But being as Alice in Chains had an album come out this year, I'm going to be honest. If a year has an Alice in Chains album, it's going to appear.
Yeah. I'm just, I love it because I love that we talk about it. It didn't have to get totally left out.
Yeah. Me likey. Very good live stuff.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Cool. Moving on to my number 4.
Nice.
This is going to be left blank because I don't have the vinyl of this.
Oh.
And if anybody out there wants to sell me one, oldheadpodcast@gmail.com. My number 4 is Relationship of Command by At the Drive-In, which is the 3rd full-length album from At the Drive-In, and their last. They got back together later and did another one that I was kind of lukewarm on. But another band that I played with, we played with At the Drive-In. Did I ever tell that story about playing with At the Drive-In?
I think you mentioned it. I can't remember if you told the full story.
It was before this album. So they did 3 albums and some EPs. And when I think they were touring on their second EP. My band at the time, so this would have been 1997, I believe. My band at the time got booked to play this show at a park in a small town called Temple, Texas. And we showed up there, and we were the first band there. And there apparently was supposed to be a fucking tornado coming through.
Whoa.
So there was a lot of like, is this going to be... what's going to happen? Is there going to be a huge storm? Are people actually going to show up? And so we were the only band there. And it was supposed to be, I think it was supposed to be us and then another band and then At the Drive-In. I think that was supposed to be the order of the bands. We got there. There was no other bands there. And we weren't supposed to go on yet. So we were like, well, we're going to go get something to eat. And so we drive the whole band in a car. We leave and we go get some like Jack in the Box or some shit. I don't remember. But we come back, and then when we come back, there's this band of people we don't know who are already setting up their gear. And we come up to them and we're like, hey, like we're supposed to be, we're playing first. You guys don't need to set up. And they're like, oh, it's no problem. We're at the drive-in. We're just going to go, we're already here. We're going to set up, and people are starting to show up. And I'm just like, okay, well, if you guys want to play first, you can play first. And at that point, I did not fucking know who this band was. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen live footage of At the Drive-In, but so the bands were setting up on a fucking tennis court. We played on a tennis court.
Wow.
But here's what happened. So they set up, and then people start showing up. People start showing up. There's a good crowd. I don't know, maybe 50 kids. I don't know, but that we all do a little semicircle around them because there's no stage. We're all just on the tennis court together, and we're kind of in a semicircle. And all I remember was, as soon as they break into the first beat of their first song, the entire crowd has to take like 4 or 5 steps back because we were not expecting the band to be like this. And they're a fucking amazing live band. And musically, they were fucking great. But all I kept thinking the whole time was, we have to fucking play after this. And we were like a fucking pop punk band. And their stuff is way more, they could have played with like You and Not You, and I'm sure they did. They're more like that, post-hardcore kind of stuff. Amazing fucking music and amazing band. But and they were so kind to us too, because they stayed and watched us play our stupid pop punk set and bought a fucking tape from us. And I was just like, and I wonder if they have it. I don't know if it's Cedric or Omar, any of you guys watching? They're not. But did you guys still have the tape from the band Penfold? Not the emo band Penfold, the pop punk band Penfold. Anyway, that was back when you couldn't really Google band names, and you would find out there was another band with the same name as you. And yes, we got the name from Danger Mouse. That's where the name came from. Anyway, so that was a fun story. But then I got really into At the Drive-In. They put out another album and another EP, and then this was their kind of like big breakthrough album, Relationship of Command. It's their heaviest album for sure. And it's one of the only albums that was brought out on, what was the name of the record label? It was run by the Beastie Boys. It was on the Beastie Boys record label, which now for some reason the name escapes me. But I'll
look it up. Beastie Boys
record label. Because I know they put
Boys record label. Grand Royal Records.
Grand Royal, yeah, because they put out stuff like, I think, Luscious Jackson and some other 90s stuff. But yeah, Relationship with Command was on that label. And they've only released one other like vinyl pressing of it, and I wasn't able to get one, and it really hurts my heart that they haven't reissued it again. But like I said, if anybody wants to part ways with their copy of Relationship of Command, hit me up. Because it's a fucking banger. And it's my number 4 on the top 10 of 2000.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the chocolate starfish and the hot dog flavored water.
Of course, this one is also on my list, but not yet. This ranking is for you, Ben Stiller. You are my favorite motherfucker. I told you.
Anyway, Kid A by Radiohead.
That joke's funnier than you know.
My number 3 is Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Flavored Water by Limp Bizkit. Now, Limp Bizkit, need I say more? I could have just done that.
Don't even bother.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to read this track list. Intro, Hot Dog, My Generation.
Oh, that's got to be a good one.
My Generation, Full Nelson, My Way, Rollin', Air Raid Vehicle, Living It Up, The One, Get Your Groove On, featuring Exhibit. Take a Look Around, It'll Be Okay, Boiler, Hold On, Rollin', Urban Assault Vehicle, featuring DMX, Method Man, and Redman, and Outro.
Featuring 10 minutes of fucking Ben Stiller laughing.
Yes. Simply put, super fun album. Goes crazy live. Sounds fucking fantastic. Yep. This is an album. This is an album of this era that doesn't sound like shit. It bounces. Yeah. It's got fantastic sonic qualities. It just goes absolutely crazy. My uncle, who I bring up a lot on this show, had I can't remember what car it was. I think it was like it was some sort of like sports coupe, and he'd put a subwoofer in the boot for the sole purpose of this album.
Nice.
And would literally just drive around blasting it. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good example of an album that was kind of rushed, that just fucking rules because of that, because of the energy of that they were riding on at that point. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's awful. It's just fucking awesome. And there's a lot of people that are snobs and are like, oh, Limp Bizkit. Shut the fuck up.
it's another it's we have to put up with the groupthink mentality
Yeah.
because they became like all of those things start because of some small thing and then they grow bigger into a thing where people that don't really have their own opinions about music, they will latch on to this group of opinions and they're like, oh well, clearly I'm supposed to hate Limp Bizkit and I'm supposed to think Lars is a shitty drummer and all these different things. But really, all it tells me is that you don't really listen to music. You just talk about it sometimes because you feel like it makes you seem special,
Yeah.
but you're not. We know you're not special.
Fuck off. Yeah. So, yeah, simply put, hot damn, dude. This album rules.
Yes, it does.
Mic drop.
Well, I'll pick that mic up again later because I'll talk
Nice.
about that later. My number 3, this may be another band that's not on your radar at all, but this was a big deal for me when it came out. The second album from the Scottish band Idlewild, 100 Broken Windows is the name of the album. Let me put that up over there. So this was one that, like around this time, a lot of music that I was introduced to, I owe it to some people that I was hanging around, some friends and girlfriends and stuff like that, because I would hear stuff that would normally not be on my radar. I wouldn't even know what it is. And I ended up hearing this album from a guy that I was in a couple bands with, and immediately I was just hooked on this band because they're kind of like for lack of a better term, this is not a good term at all, but a heavier REM. Way more. This album in particular, the guitars are fucking loud, like Oasis loud, and the lyrics are very like, you can tell the dude he's a reader. But it's real hooky and it's really interesting, and it's like, to me it was like kind of an alternative album that actually sounded alternative. It didn't sound like a lot of other things that were coming out around the time, because around the time this was coming out, you had shit like the Strokes and the Hives and all that stuff was kind of happening, or about to happen. But those bands were kind of bubbling under the surface. But this one came out, and it was very influential to me because the band that I started around this time, I was writing songs and I wanted to be able to write stuff like this album, because there's just something so unique and energetic and cool as fuck about it. And so, yeah. And they're still a band today, but they've gotten kind of a lot less aggressive and become just kind of more of an indie band. And some of it's good, some of it I don't really like, but their first 3 records, highly recommended for me. But this one to me is their peak. It's peak Idlewild, 100 Broken Windows, and it's my number 3.
Cool. So, my number 2
All right.
is the Marshall Mathers LP.
All right.
And
I don't know why. I should have expected this one. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I should have.
Yep, this is the Marshall Mathers LP by Eminem, and I think I had it as my number 1 Eminem album in our ranking.
Probably either that or the first album was your number 1.
No, I had a few above Infinite. I remember.
Okay. Oh no, not Infinite. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting that he did.
The Slim Shady album.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, this was. I think my top 3 was Slim Shady, then Eminem Show, and then it was Marshall Mathers LP.
Okay.
But yeah, it's
go back and watch it or listen to it if you really want to know.
Yeah. So this album is like it's like just as dark, and well, it's darker, but it's got the brash, crass vulgarity of the first album, but it it's less cartoony. It's more, it's not Slim Shady talking
Yeah.
so much as it is Eminem tapping into, you know, who am I and how do I fucking feel about all this shit going on?
Yeah.
And when you want horrorcore style hip hop, this is a classic for good reason. I mean, let's have a look at the track listing. I mean, so many of these songs I absolutely adore. And I grew up, Eminem was the first, artist I got into,
Yeah.
and just went a little deep, maybe a little too deep for an 11-year-old kid, but,
Yeah.
I'd been playing Grand Theft Auto for 3 years at that point. So, I was already corrupted.
And this album also has like one of his songs that I would like to never hear again, which is Stan. I would like to not hear that song again.
Stan?
Because it was fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't like just using somebody else's music as a chorus for your song.
Okay.
But then lyrically speaking, once the lyrics start, I go, okay, I know what this song's about. Why is this a hit?
Well, it isn't even just a hit. It's like a cultural pillar at this point.
And he deserves it. But compared to the rest of the album, that's that one song where I'm like, I can't listen to the verses again. It's Dear Stan. Oh God, stop it. Skip to the next song. Thank you.
Dear Slim, I wrote you, but you still ain't calling. But the what is it? The fact that Stan is now a term people use to describe overly obsessive fans of things. Imagine having that much cultural impact.
Well, it's not even used to mean extreme anymore. Now it just means that like you're a fan, like you don't take any shit, like you like everything. Like I'm a stan for Metallica because I like everything that they've done. I'm not obsessive, but that's what it started out as.
Yeah. But dude, like it's Kill You, the Way I Am, the Real Slim Shady. Oh man, there's so many good ones. Kim is fucking crazy. That song. That is a wild listen.
She passed away, didn't she?
Kim?
Yeah, didn't I hear that she
Kim,
or was that his mom? Was that his mom that died?
Kim Mathers. Kim Mathers is Debbie Mathers.
That's how I know you were a fan.
She did die.
That's how I know you were a fan, because you know his mom's name.
Yeah. Fuck you, Debbie.
Well, I guess he does say his mom's name in the songs.
Damn, dude. Well, at least she had the decency to go out on 69. And you got to the funniest age and called it a day.
Yep.
Well, simply put, great album. I love the South Park themed bonus track that you get on some versions. See children, drugs are bad. Don't believe me, ask your dad. But yeah, it's great hip hop album. Fantastic stuff. Yeah.
Cool.
Over to you.
Number 2. Hit Limp Bizkit.
Do you know where you are?
You're in the jungle, punk. Chocolate Starfish Hot Dog Flavored Water, the third Limp Bizkit album.
With the shockwave. Sorry.
Yeah, this is like, at this point, it's not even like I hate people that like ironically like stuff, and albums like this, people assume that I'm being ironic, and I'm like, no. This is a legit banger.
Yeah.
Like, if of
it
their
bangs,
albums,
it bangs.
Yeah,
You know?
that's right. Yeah, I don't ironically like anything. That's not how I work. I like it or I don't like it. I don't have guilty pleasures. I only have pleasures.
That's so ironic.
Don't you think?
Ironically.
So you already said everything that needed to be said. It's really fun. It sounds fucking great. Tons of bangers. It's actually grown on me quite a lot, because I used to be like, well, I think Significant Other is a way better album than this one. But now I almost feel like maybe not. Like,
to me, they're on an even
Very,
playing field.
very close. But I love Limp Bizkit. They're a band that I always liked, but it took years for me to all of a sudden kind of see through the bullshit and go, oh no, wait, they're a fucking fantastic band. And sure, they suffered from the same thing that I think Eminem suffered from, where Eminem and Fred Durst became like MTV caricatures of themselves and got kind of annoying to me. But you take all that shit away, and it's like, yeah. But also, I found very recently that era, I have some mad nostalgia for that era now. Which is why I told you last time I've been getting into like Sum 41 and shit like that, because I'm like, yeah, it's now that we're that far away from it and that a lot of that stuff isn't happening anymore. I think about it and I go, yeah, Fred Durst did seem kind of annoying, but I kind of miss it.
Yeah.
I kind of miss that era because I was in my 20s, and so I was able to watch this stuff and be a little bit older, as opposed to when I started watching MTV, I was like the kid watching the older people do the stuff. But now I was, the quote unquote older person. But going back and listening to some of that stuff, like last night, I listened to Half Hour of Power by Sum 41. Yeah. And I was just like, wow, why did it take me this long to hear this fucking album? It's like, it's so good. It's pop punk, but literally we'll get to Sum 41 because eventually I'd like to talk about Sum 41. But that first, I don't know if you've heard that first album by Sum 41, but it's literally a 30 minutes long, and it's got metal songs on it. It's got a part where they go into like a ska song. It's got a fucking drum solo on it. And it's
awesome.
And it's got a rap song and literally and a bunch of like really catchy pop punk all shoved into fucking 30 minutes. And I'm just like, it is so fucking fun. And
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. Anyway, but that being said, this is from that same era. I think the Sum 41 album was 2001, the first one. So yeah, and then 2002, I think, was when they fucking blew up. But anyway, all right. We already talked about this. Limp Bizkit, chocolate star. I'm gonna try to say it like you. The chocolate starfish and the hot dog flavored water. Doesn't sound like you. It sounds like a very posh British guy.
Yeah. We need a bit more Kerno going on.
Pardon me. Do you have any Grey Poupon?
Chocolate starfish and the hot dog flavored water. Right on.
That almost sounded like a Canadian a little bit. Anyway, okay, yeah, let's move on.
Our Sum 41 talk. That's
our number one. So our number one albums of 2000. I'm curious what yours is going to be. I have an idea. I think maybe what it might be, and if it is, it's one that got left out of my list, and I'll be happy that you're talking about it. But your number one's definitely not going to be my number one. I'm going to go out on record and say it. But let's keep going. Let's do it. Let's wrap this shit up.
Okay, my number one is Reinventing the Steel by Pantera.
Nice. Yep, this one it's got nudged out of my top 10.
Damn, dude. This one for me is just... This is just... when I think about all of the stuff that was coming out, and even though it is my least favorite Pantera album of the Cowboys Onward run.
Same here.
It is still Pantera doing what they do best, which is kick-ass groove metal.
I think when we did the ranking, I probably brought this up, but for me, the weak link in this album is Phil Anselmo. Like, musically speaking, I fucking love this album. Vocally speaking and lyrically speaking, half the songs are pretty lame. but whatever,
Dude, the fact that on what people consider a weaker album to still have a song like Revolution Is My Name.
Fucking Yesterday Don't Mean Shit, dude.
Yeah.
That song is amazing.
Yeah, Yesterday Don't Mean Shit. Hell, Death Rattle is used in a SpongeBob episode.
Death Rattle is fucking great as well, yeah.
Dude, I remember the first time I ever heard about Pantera was watching SpongeBob as a kid. It said, special musical guest, Pantera.
Nice.
And they use music from Death Rattle whenever Sandy gets SpongeBob to do some crazy adrenaline stunt that he doesn't really want to do, but he's just trying to impress her.
Nice.
Yeah, that has a special. I feel like a lot of kids discovered Pantera through SpongeBob.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And it's the fact that it's the last Pantera release we got with Dimebag. I mean, I know he did Damage Plan, but Damage Plan sonically is different to what Pantera were doing.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
And it's man, I know it's considered the weakest of the quote unquote 90 to 2000 run, but it's still killer.
I mean, I even prefer power metal over Reinventing the Steel, honestly.
Wow.
So
yeah, power metal's great.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Rock the world.
Yeah.
Fucking awesome. Yeah. But it genuinely it's like it's like the whole Alice in Chains thing. If Pantera, Metallica, Ugly Kid Joe, Faith No More, if any of these bands that are in my like top 10 put out an album, I'd be lying to myself if it wouldn't at least make it into the top 10 for me.
Yeah.
And Reinventing the Steel is like this one constant album from this year that has just always been with me. And,
Yeah.
all the rest of this list has morphed and changed over time. This has remained the constant number one for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm glad we got to talk about the album because I do like it. It's just it got nudged out by everything else. But okay. So you made a joke about this album earlier, but this is my number one album of 2000.
Hey!
Kid A by Radiohead. And this has got to be the only ranking that you're going to see Limp Bizkit followed by Radiohead. But I would be lying if I didn't say they were both important albums to me. Mm-hmm. So much so, have you ever seen this? Can you see that I have a Radiohead tattoo? It's in white ink on the inside of my arm.
No, I've never seen this. Holy shit!
It's hard to see. That was my first tattoo.
Damn.
So let me take you back. So the year 2000, I was a huge Radiohead fan. I'd gotten really into them with OK Computer. I liked them. I liked Bins, but OK Computer was like where it fucking blew up for me and a lot of other people. But and then going into 2000, like I've said many times on other things, that was when like heavy music, metal and hard rock, I wasn't finding things that were like really exciting me or like challenging me because things got, and they continued to be very samey and it got kind of annoying. So I was very much looking forward to this new Radiohead album. And the only thing, the single that was first released is, what's the name of that first song that was, Optimistic. Optimistic is the name of the first song that was released. And that one doesn't sound too different from other Radiohead stuff. So I was like, all right, this is a cool song. I wonder what the album's going to sound like. And I remember getting the CD the day that it came out, going home, putting it on, and I didn't move from the seat that I was in until the album ended because I was like, it was multiple emotions happening at the same time. The first one was like, what? And then the second one was like, oh. And it was one of those things where listening to this album for the first time, unfortunately now in hindsight, a lot of it probably isn't very surprising to people. But the first time I heard it, it was the first time I'd ever really heard an album like this. And it had songs on it that were very much not actual songs. There was a verse, chorus, verse, or anything, or sometimes not even any actual intelligible vocals on some of the tracks. But something sonically about what they were doing, like this was kind of like my awakening to really broadening myself to music in general. Just wanting to branch out and be like, wow, I like hearing these different sounds that do something for me, but there's no riffs in this shit. And And even for people that are Radiohead fans, there's not a lot of traditional Tom York vocals in this of what people would normally come to expect from him. But the album just totally inspired me not to make this music, because I knew right away, I'm like, no, I'm not going to be that dude that starts some band or tries to start doing, experimental sort of indie alt kind of shit or whatever you would fucking call this. But it did like really sort of make me start rethinking like writing songs and stuff that I was listening to and stuff that I was seeking out. It really opened up a lot of doors for me, which in the end became a very positive thing for me, even though I ended up coming back around to all of this music from when I was younger and then realizing that I am pretty much just a metal and hard rock kind of guy. But I think this album was important in basically opening up everything to where I was like, okay, you bring everything in. Like post this album, I fucking bought Miles Davis albums because there's a song on this that they said was inspired by a Miles Davis song. I literally opened up my world to all of this shit to actually get the experience. So I'm actually able to say, this didn't connect with me. This did. I don't like this. And it really was the beginning of everything, kind of me taking everything in and then eventually realizing that, well, I don't have that kind of time. What is the stuff that really sticks? And that's where it brought me back to where I was, or to where I have been for the past like 20 years or so, of being, embracing the music of my youth and embracing the riff and energy of heavy music and rock music. But that it's weird because it's probably a perspective that a lot of people don't connect with Kid A, because Kid A probably made, I'm not saying probably, Kid A 100% made a lot of people more fucking pretentious than they ever were. And I understand that. I understand that. But for me, it was just hearing something that I didn't know where it was going, and sonically it was pleasing, but I didn't really know why. Because like even today, there's certain tracks on this, I'm like, what does this do? Why is this doing this to me? Like, what is this? And so anyway, it's not my favorite Radiohead album, but it is probably the most important Radiohead album, which is why like a year later I ended up getting this little white tattoo on my arm of the kind of bear logo from the Kid A Amnesiac kind of period. But yeah, so they were a very important band to me. So this album had to go at number one, just because even when I put it on now, I kind of get the nostalgic feeling of remembering it in a world of albums like Chocolate Starfish were coming out, and this was this big music, and then this album comes out, and you're just like, this is the biggest we don't give a fuck album I've ever heard. Yeah. It's like, and I love that. I love those kind of albums. So, yeah, that's my number one. It's Kid A from Radiohead.
We need to add Radiohead to the list, because do you know what?
Abso-fucking-lutely.
We you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and just put
throw them in whenever you want. I'm gonna go on record and say you are going to love the Bends. Like, that's an album that you are going to think is fucking amazing.
This is the thing about Radiohead. Radiohead and I have just never crossed paths.
Yeah, I get that.
We've just not cross paths, and I think when we do, I'll understand. But like,
you might not. I mean, you don't have to. That's the thing. It's just
I truly believe that it's like the Beatles for me. I didn't get the Beatles until I did the deep dive, and then very often when I do a deep dive, I'm like, actually, you know what? Now that I'm hearing this journey, it makes more sense.
Oh, fuck! Their first album to this album, that is a fucking insane progression.
Because I mean, I've heard maybe like a couple. I've probably heard whatever they released as the single from Kid A, if there was one.
There would have been no. I'm willing to bet. Well, you may have heard everything in its right place because they've used that in like movies and TV and stuff.
That's what I'm driving at. Yeah, it's more where it's been used. But How to Disappear Completely as well. I've probably heard that one. I recognize that. But
that one, I mean,
Radiohead.
That may have been used in something because it does have a cinematic kind of feel to it.
Yeah, yeah, but this is, again, like I say, a band that I want to get into.
Yeah.
I just have not been on stylistically this kind of trajectory. Until very often it's like the Beatles. I've come away from our Beatles episode last time with a newfound respect, and I say every time I walk past Abbey Road in the record store, I'm just like, soon as that fucker goes on sale, yeah.
It's and Radiohead's an interesting band because they are a band that I was a stan for Radiohead up until a point. The last two albums that they put out. Well, it really was the most recent one that kind of killed it for me because the album prior to that was one that was still a little bit experimental in a certain way, and it didn't connect with me, but I appreciated where they were going. And then they followed up with an album that was way too like middle of the road Radiohead for me that I went like, oh, no, this is not, we're kind of done, guys. But that's the last album they even put out. So maybe I would view it differently now because I think it's been at least 10 years since their last album came out.
What was it called?
Moon-Shaped Pool.
Moon-Shaped Pool 2016. So yeah, 9 years.
Yeah. And so I don't even know if they're doing any more Radiohead because Johnny and Tom started that band called The Smile, and that's what they've been doing now. So I don't even know if Radiohead's a thing anymore. So I don't know. Who knows? Anyway. But yeah, but throw them in there, and that's definitely, we could throw them in place of like Oasis if you wanted to, because I know we were talking about doing Oasis, and I still would like to.
Yeah.
But Radiohead's a way more interesting band to talk about than Oasis.
Cool. Well, we have quite the list of episodes coming up.
Oh shit! Hold on, we finished our ranking.
Yes.
Yeah! Oh wait, hold on, wrong one. All right.
Nice.
So
that kind of allows us to get a little that kind of gives us an opportunity to get a little headbanging going on.
There's that part of me that's like, one day I'm going to change these presets in here, but I'm all like, do I really want to?
Every once in a while, we like to get a little white and we like to take a taste of alcohol.
I love Paul Stanley so much,
much. We're going to be talking about.
I'm a Paul Stan.
He fucking did it.
I said the thing.
This crazy bastard did it. He's fucking out here doing this shit.
The audacity of that man. Anyway, dude, we've got a good list of episodes coming up, and should be fun. I mean, but like you guys here, those of you who like the peanut butter platypuses, aluminium squirrels, barrel of schlitters, and oh shit, Christmas dogs. You guys that like the last here, and last till the end of the episode, you're getting to hear like we have lists. And we have one long ass master list, and then we have like an upcoming list of like 10 to 15. And that one even gets like tweaked here and there because it's really important for us to keep things fresh. Like as soon as Eddie says, oh, we need to get into Radiohead, boom, let's do it. Let's throw it in there somewhere. So, because that's the way we keep things exciting for us, because there's bands that right now, when I think about doing them, I go, oh, not really. But eventually something's going to pop up like, oh, we should talk about them. And that's when we move them up the list and we go, boop, and put them right in there. Just like that. That's what it sounds like when we do it too. Boop.
Cool.
So that's the end of the episode. Bye.
Cool. Oh, dude.
And next week we'll be back with another band ranking.
Well, I had a request. I was gonna put this to you.
It's happening. It's happening.
I was gonna put this to you. Can I fast track the Kiss Revisited episode?
Yeah. Yes.
To next week.
I'm sorry. No. What? Talk about Paul Stanley some more? Fuck no. Yeah. What are you talking about? You're insane. So next episode is Kiss Revisited.
Fuck yeah.
Oh my God.
I've been camped out in the Kiss zone. I'm not gonna lie. This week.
Yeah.
I've probably done far more Kiss homework.
So for those of you who don't know what that means, it means that we've already ranked the Kiss discography. What, 3 years ago? It's been a while.
Mm-hmm. 4.
Oh, is 4. It? Shit. Wait. I don't know.
Yeah, it is 4.
Was that in 2021? Yeah.
Early 21. Yeah.
Fuck, dude. So discographies like that, where one of us at least has kind of even done a deeper dive and kind of has a different experience with it now. Mm-hmm. If it's been enough time, we'll come back and revisit these sort of bigger bands just to not only talk about what our ranking was, but talk about what our ranking would be now. And I would even say, even in 4 years, I've become even more of a Kiss fan than I was then. And that was I was already a huge fan then. So we'll talk about where our albums were in the ranking, and we'll update them to what they would be now. Only, are we trying to do this in one episode?
I think we should just do one giant re-examination of our former lists.
Okay.
Compare them to our current lists and talk about as much Kiss shit as we can.
I love it. And
you know, this may be a 3-hour pod, and I don't even give a hoot. Nope. I want this to be a Kiss extravaganza, a Kiss expo, if you will.
Yeah,
because they do those.
At least they did. I don't know when the last Kiss expo was, but apparently I'm not that good of a fan. Anyway, I'm absolutely 100% on board with doing Kiss Revisited next time.
Nice.
So get ready for that. Get ready to, because that if I remember right, those episodes, we did a 3-parter on Kiss, and those were fun. All 3 episodes were fun. So it's going to be a blast. So everybody get ready. Everybody have a little taste of vodka and orange juice. Yeah. Because
I look at you and my blood boils hot. Sorry.
Yeah. That's
as you were saying.
I was just going to say, I've gotten even more into the later Kiss stuff too.
Let's hit the highway doing 69.
Because I kind of was a little rough on Psycho Circus, but now I'm like, it's a banger. It's kind of a banger. Maybe not 100% banger, but anyway. All right, cool. Well, I'm excited about that then.
The things I will say is I have only come to love every single one of their albums more than the first time around, which is why this is going to be such a fun fucking listen. Oh yeah.
Yep. All right, cool.
I at least really like every Kiss album for some reason.
Yeah, I'm with you. Cool. All right. So next time you see us, we will be.
Screw it. Can we do it now?
All right. So number 16. Well, I don't know how many albums there are.
I think it's 24.
Jesus Christ. 24 albums. Fuck it. Let's add all the live albums in there too.
Oh, shit.
No, let's not. We can talk about them, but it'll be a long one, guys. That's what she said. But
hold on.
Hold up.
How about this?
Oh, shit.
We do a Kiss Revisited episode.
Yes.
Follow it up with the live albums ranked.
But there's only 3 live albums, right?
There's 4. Well, there's 4 alives, and I think there's a couple others.
Did they actually release Kiss Symphony as an album, or was it just a video?
Yeah. No, it's an album as well. They released it.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that one.
Well, we know where that one will go.
Because I got the DVD of it and I've watched it a few times, and every time I'm like, this is all right, but it's still Kiss, so I love it. But anyway, all right, cool. We'll figure that out. But for sure, we're going to revisit our original ranking next time and revisit it and tweak it, and whatever. It'll be whatever it is, because it's the first time we're doing one of these, so who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah,
it's going to get wild, folks. All right, let's get out of here. Thank you for joining us for our top 10 favorite albums of the year 2000, and get ready for some Kiss fun next week. But before we go, of course, as I always do, I'm going to throw it over to Mr. Edward Spartacus III to take us out.
Later, dude, don't mean shit. Because the next episode, you have to face.
Tomorrow's the day we talk about Kiss. Anyway, they were Kiss fans too. Okay, bye everyone.